What's up, guys? Coach P here with DP Performance, where we're training smarter and not harder. I'm checking in from the Durango Sports Club because I wanted to bring a video with a little bit more knowledge around the squat. True core strength is not how the abs look or any of that bullshit. The correct definition of what is core strength is all the muscles that protect your spine and keep you upright. That is the number one reason we want to work on a squat, because throughout your daily life, anytime you're sitting down into a chair or anytime you're not as tall as you normally are, you're dipping down, we are activating the squat motion. So when it comes to working out and training movements that resemble our everyday life as much as possible, squat is number one on the list. Now, how do we properly squat? I'll often get, hey, Coach P, my knees hurt. I broke my back a couple of years ago. There's no chance you're going to give me the squat. Well, first thing, as I said before, anytime, if you're sitting down into a chair, you're squatting. So we can modify. Now, the first things to note when it comes to how to properly squat is foot position. I'll say this. I'll give you the key point of find the top of your hip bones with your two fingers, When you find the top of your hip bones, I want you to point them straight down. And then imagine if I was to draw a line straight down through the ground, I want your feet just outside that line. Okay? It's always better to err on the wider side rather than narrower. With our feet here, we are going to turn our toes out slightly. Textbook says 30 degrees. Everybody's going to be different. You're going to play with it. Reason being, our hips are naturally open, women more so. So to tailor to those kinetic lines, those open kinetic lines, when we get into a full squat, you want to turn your toes out slightly to tailor to those lines. If we keep them straight ahead, it's going to put extra pressure on those knees. Okay? So with our feet just outside of our hips, toes slightly pointed out, my key points here, I want to see, first off, how deep you can squat while staying on your balance point. What is your balance point? Your balance point is keeping your weight just below your ankles as best you can. Reason being, when we keep that weight just below the ankle, specifically inside that big toe just below the ankle, that is the most efficient place to hold our weight. When we come to the toes, we force an additional stretch that eventually comes through the knee, and that's when we start to get that patellar tendonitis. So, first off, if you're on your phone, computer, the number one advice I have to protecting your lower body joints is finding your balance point just below the ankles. And do this with me if you can. Balance on one leg, sit that weight just below the ankle. When we are here, and if we really want to be strong, press that big toe down. When we are here, the ankle, the knee, the hip joint are in great alignment. They're protected, not doing all this other crazy stuff. So number one point is finding your balance point. And I'll ask you this. Do 3 squats as deep as you can while staying on your balance point. If you can only squat this far before you come to your toes, stop there, get good here, and then week 2, you might be able to get an inch deeper. Week 4, you might be an inch deeper. You'll build strength and range of motion there. So, first off, you want to see how deep you can squat while staying on your balance point. Now, the fun thing to know, we have all been taught ass to grass if we were in sports. The more range of motion, the better, and there's a lot of truth to this. But I want you to take a look at my ass and see my butt is going to stay solid, and then at one point it's going to do what we call the butt wink. It's going to dip. Okay? So in my squat, I'm looking good. Then right about here, I can feel my butt dip. Right there. Right there. We call that the butt wink. Essentially, the spine is strong enough to hold us intact. Hold that good arch, proper arch, keep us upright. And then at that butt wink, it does not have the flexibility and strength to do that. So a compromise happens and your torso allows a tilt and there's compression of the spine, a whole lot of bad shit within there, okay? So, number 2, staying on your balance point, keep a weight just below the ankles. The second thing to do is find where is your butt wink. If my butt wink is right here, I don't want to squat anything below that because I'm not strong enough. I don't have the core integrity for that. So number 2, feet just outside the hips, toes pointed slightly outwards. Key point is, where is my butt wink? I'm going to stop there. This is where I can do a strong squat. Now, we have also traditionally been taught, let's throw that bar on our back, let's do heavy, heavy, heavy weight, and let's go. Let me recommend the best #1 type of squat we can possibly do is a goblet squat. I am using a kettlebell here, and we're holding it either just like a goblet from below, let's say if we have dumbbells, or we can hold it by the handles here. I want you to squeeze your shoulder blades back, and this is where I come into the term of T-spine. Finding your balance point protects the lower body. How do we protect the upper body? How do we protect the spine? My phrase called T-spine, do this with me. Squeeze your shoulder blades back, drop them an inch, and then you're not necessarily pinching your shoulder blades together, but you want to find a golf ball size softness in between the shoulder blades. Breathe in here. And when we are here, when we squeeze them back, we engage everything on top of the spine, the upper spine. When we drop it an inch, we engage everything down the spine. That spine is protected. With this point in mind, good T-spine, we grab a weight, hold it in front of us. This weight will want to bring us forward. I will say, imagine I tied a string to the top of your head, was pulling on it as hard as I could, staying upright, stopping at just before the butt wink. We have the goblet squat. We can weight as much as we want here. An NFL player did this towards the end of his career because he realized he couldn't bench 400 or 500 pounds like the young guys. With goblet squats and a few other additional supplements, ways of getting around loading your spine so freaking much, he was able to put an extra 5 years on his NFL career. So, starting off with the goblet squat, getting used to that free motion squat, my top point, let me say where I see the most errors is when we get into the squat. #1, the knees caving in. If the knees cave in, that's all bad. If we want to think about solid structure, we want that pyramid structure for a great foundation. So if your knees are going to do anything, push your knees out within the squat. Knees caving in, all bad. Knees going out, all good. We can't go wrong there. Okay? Flaw #1, please do not let your knees come out. #2, we often, first thing we do is let the chest come forward and then get the bend in the legs and do all that shit. Do this. Imagine I tied a string to the top of your head, was pulling on as hard as I could. Relax the upper body as much as you can, and just with the body weight squat, try to keep an upright posture through that full squat, not letting yourself come forward. If you do, that's when we start to find that lower back strain. Now, #1 exercise for developing core strength is that squat. We can either start with a goblet squat. I'd love to put 2 dumbbells in hands, going a little bit heavier. Let's say 20s in each side, doing a suitcase squat. Let's say if we're 50 plus, and we don't necessarily have the confidence in ourselves to just bust out squats, find a stability ball. We'll put it in about the arch of our back, and I don't even have a flat surface here, so work with me. In good squat form, feet just outside the hips, pointing toes out slightly, still looking to stay upright. We can use the ball as almost an awareness guide to help us stay upright and stay on those balance points. If we're 50 plus, if we're just getting into squats and we're not confident with this yet. So guys, that is the full overview of a squat. First thing I start any workout with, reason being, is going to activate the most muscles within the system, burn the most calories. It's the best core exercise there is. Squat is king, queen is #1. Once again, my name is Dwayne Perry, Coach P with DP Performance, where we're training smarter, not harder. Tune in for the next one.